Sansa Stark stand before Ramsay Bolton, not merely as a victim of his cruelty, but as someone who has endured and transformed pain into a quiet, unbreakable strength. Her journey to this moment is carved from years of manipulation, humiliation, and survival, and yet she carries herself with a composure that signals a profound shift in her identity. No longer the naive girl who once dreamed of courtly love and songs, she now embodies resilience, shaped by the harshest realities of the world around her. In their confrontation, the psychological tension is far more powerful than any physical conflict. Ramsay, who thrives on domination and fear, attempts to maintain control through his usual tactics of intimidation. However, Sansa's calm demeanor disrupts his expectations. She does not cower, nor does she plead. Instead, her silence and measured words expose the fragility beneath his cruelty, revealing that his power depends entirely on the fear of others. The setting of their encounter plays a crucial role in amplifying the emotional weight of the scene. The cold, imposing walls that once imprisoned Sansa now serve as a backdrop to her liberation. The same place that symbolized her suffering becomes the stage where she reclaims her agency. This reversal of meaning underscores the transformation she has undergone, turning a place of despair into one of quiet triumph. Sansa's gaze carries a depth that words alone cannot convey. It reflects memories of everything she has endured, from the loss of her family to the horrors inflicted by Ramsay himself. Yet within that gaze lies something new: certainty. She knows who she is now, and more importantly, she knows that Ramsay no longer has power over her. This realization marks a turning point not only in their dynamic, but in her own sense of self. Ramsay, on the other hand, struggles to comprehend this change. Accustomed to absolute control, he cannot fully grasp how Sansa has slipped beyond his reach. His attempts to provoke fear or anger fall flat, revealing the limits of his influence. In this moment, his confidence begins to crack, and the imbalance of power subtly shifts in Sansa's favor. The dialogue between them is sparse, but loaded with meaning. Each word Sansa speaks is deliberate, carrying the weight of her experiences. She does not seek revenge through rage or cruelty. Instead, she asserts her strength through restraint. This approach not only contrasts sharply with Ramsay's brutality, but also highlights the moral distance between them. As the confrontation unfolds, it becomes clear that Sansa's victory is not defined by physical dominance, but by psychological liberation. She has already won by refusing to be defined by her suffering. Ramsay may still stand before her, but he no longer holds any real power over her identity or her future. This internal victory is far more significant than any external outcome. The memory of her past self lingers in the background, creating a stark contrast between who she was and who she has become. The transformation is not sudden, but the result of countless moments of endurance and quiet resistance. Each hardship has contributed to the strength she now displays, making this confrontation the culmination of her journey, rather than an isolated event. There is also a sense of justice woven into the scene, though it is not delivered in a conventional or immediate way. Instead of explosive retribution, the justice comes from the erosion of Ramsay's control. Watching him lose his psychological grip is more satisfying than any act of violence, as it strips him of the very thing he values most: power over others. Ultimately, this moment defines Sansa not as a survivor alone, but as a leader in her own right. Her ability to confront her past without being consumed by it demonstrates a maturity and strength that set her apart. She emerges from the encounter not just free from Ramsay, but fully in control of her own narrative, ready to shape her future on her own terms. The confrontation between Sansa Stark and Ramsay Bolton is deeply rooted in themes of power and revenge, yet it challenges traditional notions of both. Rather than seeking immediate or violent retaliation, Sansa approaches the situation with a calculated sense of purpose. Her understanding of power has evolved, allowing her to navigate the moment with a clarity that contrasts sharply with Ramsay's impulsive cruelty. Ramsay represents a form of power built on fear and suffering, a fragile structure that depends on the submission of others. Throughout his life, he has relied on brutality to assert dominance, believing that fear is the ultimate tool of control. However, Sansa's refusal to submit undermines this foundation, exposing the inherent weakness in his approach to power. Sansa's version of power is quieter, but far more enduring. It is rooted in self-awareness, patience, and the ability to learn from past experiences. She does not need to prove her strength through violence or intimidation. Instead, her confidence speaks for itself. This shift in the definition of power is one of the most compelling aspects of their confrontation. Revenge, often portrayed as a consuming and destructive force, takes on a different form in Sansa's hands. While she has every reason to seek vengeance, she does not allow it to control her actions. Her approach is measured and deliberate, suggesting that true justice is not about inflicting pain, but about reclaiming autonomy and dignity. The emotional complexity of the scene adds depth to its exploration of justice. Sansa is not devoid of anger or pain. These emotions are present, but they are carefully controlled. This restraint prevents her from becoming what Ramsay is, preserving her humanity even in the face of immense suffering. It is this balance that ultimately defines her strength. Ramsay's inability to understand Sansa's perspective highlights the limitations of his worldview. He sees power as something to be taken and maintained through force, and therefore cannot comprehend a form of power that does not rely on fear. This disconnect becomes increasingly evident as the confrontation unfolds, further emphasizing the contrast between them. The idea of justice in this moment is not about restoring balance through equal suffering, but about breaking the cycle of cruelty altogether. Sansa's actions suggest that true justice lies in ending the influence of those who perpetuate harm, rather than mirroring their behavior. This perspective adds a layer of moral complexity to the scene. There's also an element of inevitability in the outcome of their confrontation. Ramsay's methods, while effective in the short term, are unsustainable in the long run. His reliance on fear ensures that his downfall is only a matter of time, as it creates enemies rather than loyalty. Sansa, in contrast, builds strength through resilience and understanding, making her position far more stable. The scene serves as a commentary on the nature of leadership and the qualities that define it. Ramsay's rule is characterized by chaos and fear, while Sansa's emerging leadership is marked by composure and insight. This contrast suggests that true leadership is not about control, but about the ability to inspire and endure. In the end, Sansa's confrontation with Ramsay is not just a personal victory, but a broader statement about the evolution of power and justice. She redefines both concepts in a way that transcends simple revenge, demonstrating that strength lies not in domination, but in the ability to rise above suffering and create something better from it. Sansa's final presence in this confrontation also carries a sense of closure that resonates beyond the immediate moment. It is not simply about facing Ramsay, but about confronting everything he represents in her past. The fear, the helplessness, and the silence that once defined her are no longer in control. By standing before him with unwavering composure, she symbolically closes a chapter of her life that was marked by suffering, replacing it with one defined by awareness and strength. There's a quiet but undeniable shift in how justice is perceived through her actions. Instead of seeking validation through vengeance alone, Sansa allows the moment to reflect a deeper moral resolution. She understands that true justice does not require her to become consumed by hatred. This awareness creates a powerful contrast between her and Ramsay, emphasizing that her growth lies not only in surviving, but in choosing a different path forward. The psychological victory she achieves is perhaps the most enduring aspect of the scene. While physical outcomes may define the immediate conclusion, it is her internal transformation that leaves a lasting impact. Sansa no longer reacts out of fear or trauma. Instead, she acts with intention and clarity. This shift illustrates that true power is not about controlling others, but about mastering oneself in the face of adversity. In the broader narrative, this confrontation reinforces Sansa's evolution into a figure of resilience and quiet authority. She emerges not just as someone who has endured hardship, but as someone who has learned from it and reshaped her identity. Her strength becomes a foundation for the future, suggesting that even in a world defined by cruelty, it is possible to rise above it and redefine what power and justice truly mean.